Afternoon, guys. Sunday afternoon. This one's just kind of for informational purposes and a little bit of fun. Nothing to worry about or anything like that. But something interesting that maybe you should know and maybe you want to share the next time somebody says one of these insane, ludicrous things to you. Okay. So I went to breakfast with Mountaintop Prepper today, and we were talking on the drive and everything about uh, the whole COP26. The conference that was held in Glasgow and everything like that. How it was talking about getting rid of coal, and at the last second, both China and India backed out and said, "Nope, sorry, we're not getting rid of coal," and that kind of blew the whole thing up. And the president of the conference was in tears at the end. And of course, Greta Thunberg is bitching up a storm. You're not doing anything about all this. Well, so we got to talking, and Mountaintop Prepper made the comment to me. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "the only way that, all electric cars are ever going to work is if they ever figure out how to make a car with a solar panel on the roof or whatever that's enough to charge it. Because, like you guys all know, it takes about 8 hours to charge a solar vehicle. All right, so be it. So solar vehicles would be fine for commuting back and forth to work, running around town or anything like that. But taking any sort of trip, as I made the comment in there, if I wanted to go see my daughter, which is 6-7 hour drive, well, you're not going to get that much out of a tank, if you will, in a solar vehicle. So I'd have to take a 6 or 7 hour drive and turn it into a 14-hour drive because I'd have to stop somewhere and charge the car for 8 hours, right? Okay. So there's the problem. So I thought I'd do the math on this. And we've all heard the stories of, zero emissions by 2050. And was it California wants to have all electric vehicles by 2030 and everything like that? So all this sort of crazy stuff. Extremely ambitious goal. Okay, and there's some people that are out there saying, oh, we'll be all electric cars by 2024 or 2025. 2 or 3 years, good luck. Okay, we don't have the infrastructure for it, but that's not what I'm getting into. I just wanted to do the basics on this. So this is what I found out and figured out. All right. So to use as the base, I just went off of what it would take to power a city or whatever. So I looked at New York City. All right. New York City uses 4,015,000 megawatt hours of electricity per year. Okay. And this, I didn't have to figure this out. This is actually, you can find this online. Okay. So it would take 11 million solar panels, which would cover 17 square miles to power New York City. Okay. So roughly you'd have to have 1/3 of Manhattan, or space 1/3 of Manhattan in solar panels to power New York City. Now, granted, New York City's population is more dense than basically the rest of the country. So I broke this out and found all this stuff. This is kind of funny. So the United States as a whole, we use 3.8 trillion megawatt hours of electricity per year. Okay. So using the same mathematics on that would mean we would need to power the United States 10,410,958,904 solar panels to power the United States. That would be approximately 16,100 square miles. Okay. So basically, if you go by the area of states, we would have to take all of Massachusetts and all of Connecticut and completely cover them with solar panels to power the United States. And I know people say, well, it's just a couple of small states. Okay. Now, drive across one of them. All right. But even then. All right. So that's what it would take. And that's on a sunny day. Okay, that's if you got 365 days, no clouds, no nothing, all sun. Massachusetts and Connecticut would be what we'd have to cover. Okay. Now we want to go to electric cars, right? So look this up. 3.2 trillion miles are what are driven each year by the American public. Personal vehicles, not commercial. Okay. Now, the average Prius, average electric vehicle, goes about 100 miles on 40 kilowatt hours. All right. So therefore, we use 1,200,000,000, we would need to use 1,280,000,000,000 kilowatt hours, or 1,280,000,000 megawatt hours. So therefore, in order to power cars, okay, we would need 3,506,849, or let's try that again, 3,506,849,315 solar panels to create enough electricity to power cars. That would mean we'd need to cover an area of 5,419 and 2/3 square miles to cover cars. So if you combine the houses and the cars, okay, this again is just personal vehicles, we would have to now cover the entire state of West Virginia with solar panels to meet the demand for houses, businesses, and personal vehicles. Okay. Now, like I said, that's on sunny days alone. Now, to no one's surprise, Arizona and Nevada are the sunniest states in the United States with, on average, 85 and 79% sunny days, respectively. The U.S. average is 59%. Okay, so let's just use the U.S. average. Therefore, we need to roughly double the amount of solar panels to 7 billion and double the square mileage to 43,000 just to make sure that we had enough, okay? Because it's not sunny everywhere all the time. So now we are talking about putting solar panels on a space the size of the entire state of Virginia, okay? But that's if everything works perfectly. There's never any downtime, nothing like that. There's no repairs needed, that, they're not a hack or anything like that. So redundancy has to be built in, right? So now as we're preppers, let's use the 2 is 1 and 1 is none rule, all right? So that would mean we need 14 billion solar panels that would cover 86,000 square miles. Again, to cover the electrical use for houses, businesses, whatever, and personal owned vehicles. That's more than the size of the entire state of Utah covered in solar panels. Okay. Think I'm crazy? Okay. Maybe you're not convinced. Like I said, that's just to cover in individuals. You also need to somehow account for things like, the U.S. trucking industry consumes about 220 billion gallons of fuel per year because trucks have to drive. The airline industry, 18 billion gallons of fuel per year. Railroads, 470 million gallons per year. The military, 4.6 billion gallons per year of fuel. The post office, 97.7 million gallons of fuel per year. Hell, FedEx uses 1.5 billion gallons of just jet fuel every year. I couldn't even find numbers on how much fuel was used for things like public transportation or construction or anything like that. And I stopped looking at that point because it just got ridiculous, okay? So anyway, all electric cars by 2030 is a little more than ambitious. It's just freaking insane, okay? Net zero by 2050, okay? Sorry, Greta, but unless technology vastly improves, it ain't happening, all right? Politicians want to talk about this because it sounds good. The environmentalists go, woohoo, this is all a great idea. Except it's not physically possible, okay? Think about this. The entire state of Utah, drive through Utah sometime, okay? It literally takes you about 8 hours to go from the Idaho border to the Arizona border. And I never drove it from east to west. Okay. It's insane how big it is. Okay. You're talking that amount for solar panels, you know, but net zero by 2050. And again, like I said, unless technology vastly improves. I remember about 20 years ago, there was an internet service provider called NetZero. Okay. It promised the internet service was going to be free and would always be free. That was their commercial. They went out of business. I think the same can be said about this iteration of NetZero. Thought you might want to share that with all those people who are going, we're going green and that's the only way it's going to be. Well, good luck with that. Have a good Sunday. Pinball out.